Hi guys, so I've decided to make this video to show you how to make and apply a simple handle to a mug. This is about a 3.5-inch mug, and I have applied this handle. It's been there a couple of days. So I'm gonna make 3 different handles and we're gonna apply them all to this mug. I've made handles, I've taken them off. It's battle scarred, but it'll suffice for our purposes. So I'm going to show you 3 different kinds of mugs, handles. First is this ear-shaped handle that is a false pull, and I'll show you that first. And then we're going to make this kind of lug handle where it's fatter on each end and a little thinner in the middle, sort of an arching shape, thin to heavy. And then we're just going to make a plain thin handle, just to probably the simplest handle to make, something like that. Okay. All right, I have this one kind of in my backpack here. That's another just kind of curved handle. So, all right. Some of these handles I just made, they're a little soft. You ideally want to let your handles sit a little bit so that they hold their form. For instance, this handle has been sitting and it's not going to change shape. These other handles have not been sitting very long, so if I lay them down or turn them over, they'll change shape. Ideally, your handle will be flexible, but not so loose that it's squishy. And it should approximate the moisture content of your mug. Otherwise, the mug can reject. You can get poor adhesion, basically. So that said, this is fairly firm and these are fairly soft. But you don't want to necessarily make that mistake. This is I just rolled this out, it's my measuring coil. It's the coil that will tell me approximately how long I'm going to make any of my handles when they're stretched out. So the rule of thumb with how wide basically should your handle be is that it should be no wider than half the width of your mug. And this is just a proportion thing, and it's a rule of thumb. You can break rules of thumb for design purposes. Because I'm going to attach my handle here and here, I am looking at that width. And it's within the realm of possibility. So I'll just keep that. I can make my handles this long and then they'll be a little bit maybe long and I'll cut them. So better too long than too short. All right. So I'm going to stand up and roll a carrot. I can't roll sitting down, roll coils. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to roll a carrot. So my carrot is going to be thin at the tip. And sometimes you'll find that when you roll a coil, you'll get like an air bubble in the end. And I just pinch that off. So thinking about the size of my mug and how wide in this direction this carrot should be is a consideration that you should make, depending on the bulk. This is a fairly small mug. It's not too bulky. It's beaten up, but it's not too bulky. And so my carrot's going to be slim carrot. Okay. So there's my carrot. Here's my measuring coil. So I'm going to cut just above my measuring coil because I need something to hold on to as I do this false pull. So a false pull means that I'm going to have some water and a sponge, warm water, and I'm going to apply the sponge with some pressure to the carrot. And initially, I'm just kind of smoothing and lengthening the shape. And I can make the top flat or curved, and today I'm going to make it with a little spine. So it's going to have a little bit of a ridge, and then when it curves, it'll make a nice line at the spine. So I'm going to keep smoothing that out. And because I don't want it to be sharp on the edges, I'll just soften those as well. So my measuring coil, that's probably going to be good for me. I'm going to cut the end at a sharp bevel. So this is where I want to attach. And if I cut it at a bevel and I put it on the cup, this will make a nice curve automatically. So normally you would make this and just set it aside. You can set it aside, you can set it aside in the shape that you want to keep it in. Sometimes it's a good idea to hang them, press it down so it doesn't fall off, and hang it over the table. And it will make that curve nicely, like candy cane curve. And let it set up a little bit. So half an hour. You don't want it so stiff that when you move it, it decides to break. So I don't have another one of these, but I'm going to just put it on, even though it's quite noodly. So let me just put that down here. So what you're going to do, take your serrated rib. I'm going to put this right here because that's where it was before. And I'm going to scratch a little patch at the top and the bottom. Now, this carrot shape, as you see, I've attached the base for about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch at the bottom. You don't have to do that. You can cut it so it meets it kind of like it does at the top. But sometimes I like to have a little tail on that. So I've scratched my top. I'm going to take a little bit of slip because handles, you really want your handles to adhere, and slip will help. I'm not going to put slip on the handle itself, just going to put it on the cup. Enough that I think when I press, I'll get some slip squishing out the sides. So I'm going to take my handle and press it in, and I'm pressing from the inside as well. Pretty good pressure. I see that the slip is squeezing out. I'm not going to do anything with that slip quite yet. I want that slip to firm up, and then I'm going to use it as glue. I'll just smooth it around the seam. Then I'm going to take this, and I should also give it a little, especially if I let this set up, I'm going to want to score it so that it gets to that soft clay. Now, especially with thin handles, you don't want to make them, you want them to be firmer when you put them on, so that, especially a handle that has a curve like this one. So I am going to press down. The problem that I'm going to have with this handle is when I pick it up, it's going to want to slump, and that's going to weaken it. So it's best for a handle such as this that you let it set up so it will hold its shape and not slump. The other thing is you want the handle to be straight. So you constantly recheck that to keep the spine straight. Okay? So this handle is a little bigger than this handle, and either one, depending on what kind of look you're after, either one would be fine. This one kind of looks bulky in the camera, but it doesn't look bad from here. So when that slip firms up around the seam, then I'm going to take any wooden tool and I'm going to smooth it in to the seam. All right, so that's the first handle. We'll see how that goes. Again, don't do what I'm doing, which is attach a very soft handle to a leather hard. Going on hard leather, hard mug, it won't end well. It won't stay attached. Okay. Next, we're going to make just that thick-ended lug handle, and basically just going to start with a little thicker lug that's cut on both sides, and I'm going to thicken those sides, tap them down, and roll the middle into a dog bone. You know, a dog bone shape? And flip it over. And I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to stretch it a little bit. Again, this is the false pulling. You can do this. This way is easier than pulling it the traditional way. So a lot of the things that are pulled the traditional way, you can just do it this way. And it's much easier. It takes less time to master. Now, one thing about this handle, I like these handles, but you have to watch that they don't get too bulky at the base. I'm probably going to stretch this enough to where I will want to bevel that base and cut some of the bulk out. Right now, it's about 1/2 inch wide, which is fine. We'll just see. And it's getting to the point where, you know, kind of, that's the shape I'm going for. It's more of a two-finger mug, okay? And then what I would do is get my measuring coil. It's about the same size, which is good. And then again, I would make a little bit of an indentation in both ends. And I'm going to let this one set up because I have one that's a little firmer over here. So I'm going to put this one on. And you can, and I recommend you make a couple of handles, decide which one you like. So I'll put this one, see how my handle's doing. So far, so good. When this handle's a little firmer, I can push it to be a little more of an ear shape or half a heart shape, which is what I'm interested in for that one. All right, same deal. Cup is rapidly getting drier. So I'm gonna try and get this, making my score spot. When you score like this, you're digging for soft clay, and it helps to marry the two pieces together. I'll take some slip and apply it. So there's extra. And I'm going to, a little cumbersome with multiple handles, but I'm going to press that in, pressing from the outside, pressing from the inside. And at the bottom. The slip is squeezing out, which is good. That's how I want it. I'm going to check my alignment. Keep that alignment. And once it's on there, I can shape it more if I've lost some of the contour. Okay, so there's that one. You can make a handle, and you can roll a pattern into it. There's lots of patterns around. Anything, a stamp, anything. So it doesn't have to just be plain. There's lots of ways to add interest. You can put little buttons at the top, but this is just your basic handle. Remember, you'll be doing this for 4 mugs. So if I make a thin handle, just one of those kind of utilitarian, nothing different in the contour, it's all the same width. And I have my measuring coil. In this case, I cut it to my measuring coil. It's gonna lengthen a little bit because I'm gonna take a little pony roller and I'm gonna just roll it. So this is just a plain, very plain handle. Very easy to make. Here's one, you know, might as well put a little, can put a little stamp into it. I do have this. It's just a texture. Actually, let's get a doily texture. I have lots of doilies. And see what texture would work on this. I'm just going to roll a little doily in. So it gives it a little texture, which is can be nice. And let's see, size-wise, this is way too big. So I'm going to bevel the top. See what that looks like. You know, I actually don't want to bevel the top. I'm just going to make this a plain, straight, top to bottom, like that. So, and same thing, just tap, make a little concavity in there. And everything's sticking so far, which is kind of amazing given how dry this is getting. So, one more time. Score, score, top, bottom, making sure they're aligned. Adding slip. And this one is really going to be loosey-goosey. Because it's thinner than some of the other ones, the thinner they are, the flimsier they are when you first make them. So that's basically going to be that handle. Again, I'm letting some slip squeeze out. I'm going to wait until it's firmer, the slip, I mean, as it squeezes out, it bubbles out, and then it'll get firmer. And once it's firmer, then I'm going to rub it around the seam so you get better adherence. Always checking for my spine being straight. So there it is. All kinds of handles, all made just with your own 2 hands and a sponge. See you guys.